I know they're talking about you. And I know it's been getting to you. And I know that things are hard and times are tough. But you know what? I got good news for you. You're totally unstoppable. Ain't no mountain high enough, there ain't no valley low enough, there ain't no ocean wide enough to keep me from my dreams. I fully made up my mind to leave the past behind, seek until I find my destiny. Totally unstoppable. Totally unstoppable. Unstoppable. In the face of every obstacle, I'm moving ahead unstoppable, knowing nothing's impossible if only I believe. I'm reaching for the unreachable, feeling for the intangible, looking for the invisible, because I believe. I'm totally unstoppable. Totally unstoppable. Totally unstoppable. Let me tell you now, every obstacle presents an opportunity. Every rock I see a stepping stone. The only limitation is in my imagination. Doesn't matter what they say, I'm gonna do it anyway. There's no triumph without a trial, no gain without the pain, no glory without a story, no might without the fight, no victory without a victim, no message without a mess, no testimony without the testing. So step by step, totally unstoppable. Totally unstoppable. I'm a totally unstoppable. Totally unstoppable. I'm a totally unstoppable. No matter what they say, gonna make it anyway. Unstoppable. Greater is He that is in you than he that is in the world. You can do all things through Christ, because He strengthens you. No weapon formed against you, no, no, no. You're gonna prosper, no, no way. So you can run on through that truth. Leap above the wall. Know that you're going through. No matter what they're saying, you just keep on praying. No matter what they do, I know that you're going through. No matter what the problem, I know my God can solve them. Oh yeah, I know what you got. You know what I got. Yeah, we all got potential. Yeah, we may not all have money, but we all got potential. Potential to be anything that we can dream. Yeah, so get ready. Here we go. Whoever dreamed that I could be. All right, good people. All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to tonight's Kingdom Conversation with me, your host, Bishop Wayne Malcolm, the business bishop. Live and direct, excited and delighted to be a part of your life and your legacy. Great to see folks coming in already, and I just want to welcome you. So, welcome, Angel, and welcome BK, and welcome Patrick, and just great to see you. And of course, last week was my birthday. Hold on, this is a good time for me to check my sound effects here right now. Yeah, last week was my birthday. So I was not on, but I am back. And for those of you that are new to the channel, let me say that we post 3 times a week. Thank you, Angel. We post 3 times a week. So Tuesday Live is our Blessed Business Coaching, in which we give our very blessed and best business coaching tips to Kingdom entrepreneurs. And then Thursday night is our Kingdom Conversation Bible class. And that's what you're on right now. And then on Sundays, I broadcast a sermon. So if you like the content, if you like what we shared, then please do go ahead and subscribe. Subscribe, particularly to YouTube. I know some of you are watching from some other platforms, but I want you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I want you to like the post, and I want you to go ahead and share. So now would be a good time to let your family and friends, your networks and neighbors know that Bishop Wayne Malcolm, the business bishop, is live and direct right here on this platform, sharing some good heavenly stuff with you. Look, thank you so much for all the happy birthdays that I'm getting. And you know why I like these happy birthdays? Because as you get older, your birthday gets a bit longer. It becomes a birth week, then it becomes a birth month, and it becomes a year. So I'm definitely taking out about 3 months to celebrate my birthday. So thank you. So it's not even belated. Just keep it rolling in. And, we're going to have some fun. All right. So how many of you are ready to dive in deep tonight? And if you're ready to dive in deep, I want you to send up something in the chat box. Perhaps some fire emojis, heart emojis, hand clapping emojis. Send them up in the chat box so I know that you're on fire and that you are ready to go, because we're going to dive in deep tonight. All right. Fantastic. So just so you know, obviously I can see your comments as they come in. They're very inspirational, very motivational, and I want you to, let's make this as live and as interactive as possible. I want you to use the chat box as your virtual voice. I want you to comment, if we say something that resonates with you deeply, or that constitutes a light bulb moment for you, an epiphany and a breakthrough in understanding, just go ahead and write something in the chat box. It will not only inspire me, it will inspire others. So I can see it going in. I can't respond to it, obviously, but I can see it coming in, and just great to see you. All right, so Tyrone, welcome. First live, bless you, Tyrone. Brian, thank you. And Karen, as always, thank you so very much. All right, we're going to dive into a really powerful subject tonight. Or it might be today for you, depending on where you are in the world. So tonight, I want to talk about the power of ideas, and I want to suggest to you that you are just one idea away from your next breakthrough. Just one idea away from your next breakthrough. And it may seem like you need a lot of things in order to break through, like you need a lot of help. You're going to need a lot of advice. You're going to need a lot of money. You're going to need a lot of resources in order to break through. But I want to suggest to you that you are perhaps just one idea away from your next breakthrough. And we're going to talk about the power of ideas right now. So the outline is I'm going to give some context to the concept. I want to talk about the ancient trade. I want to talk about the thinking class. I'm going to talk a bit about the factory school system, and some of you have been on my classes where I deal with the miseducation of the masses, and I talk about the factory school system that was designed to mass produce a slave class and a workforce. I'm going to talk about that a bit tonight. I'm going to talk about equal opportunity and the art of conversion. So This is going to be epic. So let's give some context to the concept. Here is a powerful statement. Those who think for a living will always be paid more than those who work for one. Woo! Oh, help me now. Do you know what? That requires a new sound effect. That's the sound effect. That's the sound effect for an epiphany, a light bulb moment, a breakthrough in understanding. Because here's what it is. Those who think for a living will always be paid more than those who work for a living. And this is not just my conclusion. It is the very conclusion that the richest man who ever lived came to. He said, wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom. And with all thy getting, get understanding. Exalt her, and she shall promote thee. She shall bring thee to honor. And when thou dost embrace her, she shall give to thine head an ornament of grace, a crown of glory shall she deliver to thee. So here's arguably the richest man who ever lived, namely King Solomon, who concluded that there was something more important to him than money and riches. There was something more important to him than houses and land. There was something more important to him than status and fame. And it was wisdom. He said, because if you get wisdom, you've got the root. Everything else is a fruit. If you get the wisdom, you get the cause. Everything else is an effect. If you get the wisdom, you get the source. Everything else is a supply. And of course, if you have the source, you'll never run out of a supply. If you have the cause, you can use the cause to create the same effect over and over again. And if you have the root, you'll never run out of fruit. But see, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach him how to fish, give him a boat, a net, and a skill set, and you feed him for life. One's a cause, the other is an effect. Give a man a mango, you may feed him for a day. Give him a mango tree, and you may feed him and his family for life. Solomon prioritized the root cause of his success. He prioritized the source of his endless supply. And he challenged everyone in his Proverbs to prioritize wisdom. And as you go through the book of Proverbs, you will see that he promotes wisdom, understanding, and knowledge above any physical symbol of wealth. And of course, knowledge is information, understanding is explanation, wisdom is application. He is effectively exalting thoughts above things. He's exalting thoughts above things because he understands that things come out of thoughts. Now, look, I wasn't going to go here, but I'm going to go here tonight. And I'm going to say that according to Hebrews 11, the things that are seen were not made from things that do appear. In other words, the physical world came out of the spiritual world. The spiritual world is the cause, the physical world is an effect. And what this really means for us is that if we can prioritize the invisible causes of physical, material success, then we will have an endless supply because we are in possession of a source. And so this is the wisdom of Solomon, and it is a wisdom I'm going to challenge you to embrace, but I'm going to take it to another level. Can we take it to another level? I want you to know that Adam's job was a thinking job. Woohoo! I'm sorry. Adam's job was a thinking job. You know, the original man, which I'm going to call the authentic man, God's dream and design for humanity, is what we see in Adam before the fall. So Adam's original job was a thinking job. He did not sow or reap.
How do we know this? Because God planted the garden eastward in Eden. Adam didn't plant the garden, okay? He neither sowed nor reaped. He didn't plant, he didn't harvest. He didn't hunt, he didn't kill. Instead, he dressed and he kept. He categorized and labeled. He gave names and frames and assignments and roles to every living creature. Now let's just dive over to the right-hand side to read this before I go to the bottom piece. It says, "And out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every bird of the heavens, and brought them unto the man to see what he would call them." What's God saying? God's saying, Adam, think. Think now. I want you to come up with a name. I want you to come up with a frame. I want you to come up with a role. I want you to come up with a job description. I want you to come up with the definition. I want you to come up with the responsibilities. I want you to give everything an assignment. I'm bringing everything to you to see what you will call it, right? And it's not that you're going to say, okay, God, what shall I call this? It's now you are going to dig deep into your creative, imaginative faculty, and you are going to name all of the creatures and put them into categories and assign them places and spaces and roles and functions. And the man gave names to all cattle. Understand, when you see the word name in the Bible, it's a name. It is a name is a frame, okay? A name describes your nature, but a name is a frame, which means Adam is giving context to the cattle. He is giving an assignment. He's giving role. He's giving a place, a space. He's organizing the world, the environment around him. The man gave names to all cattle and to all the birds of the heavens and to every beast of the field. But for man there was not found help meet for him. So I want you to see this with me, because this is quite profound. I want you to see that in the paradise of God's intent, in the paradise of God's purpose, in the paradise of God's plan, man's job is a thinking role. Okay? It's a thinking role. And this means he's going to work with his mind. His mind is going to be his office. His mind is going to be his tool set. His mind is where he's going to develop his skill set. Because in the original plan and in the paradise of God's purpose and intent, man was not sowing or reaping. Man was not hunting and roasting. Man was naming and framing and organizing and designing. It is only after the curse of Genesis 3, the curse saw Adam's fall from the thinking class to the working class. Oh, help me now. The curse saw Adam's fall from the thinking class to the working class, from head to hands, okay? Because after the fall, it was said to Adam, "In the sweat of your face shall you eat bread, all the days of your life, till you return to the dust. For dust thou art, and to dust you will return." So what's happened here is that Adam is now under the curse, which is evident from his fall from a thinking creature to a working creature, or from the head to the hands. Because before the fall, there's no sweat. Before the fall, the trees bring forth fruit, okay, bearing seed, so after its kind, so that consumption in the paradise of God's intent produces, enables production, right? Consumption enables production. In a cursed context, production produces scarcity and lack. Consumption produces scarcity and lack within the cursed context. But in the blessed context, consumption would lead to more production, because for every fruit you eat, you will release new seed into the ground. And the new seed will become new trees bearing more fruit. And whereas you can count the number of seeds in a fruit, you cannot count the number of fruit in a seed. Only God can count the number of fruit in a seed. And so in the blessed context of the paradise of God's original intent, the authentic man is a thinking being. He belongs to a thinking class. Now, I want you to say, given that you are now the redeemed man. So in the Bible, we have the original or authentic man, we have the fallen man, and we have the redeemed man. Now, we are the redeemed, and the redeemed man has the paradise restored, first internally and then ultimately externally. But that paradise of God's original intent is restored inside of us as the redeemed class, and then ultimately that is expressed outside of us. So I want you to write in the chat box, I am the thinking class. I am the thinking class. You know, the United Kingdom is a class-oriented society in which we have at the very top the aristocrats, and then we have a working class, or what in the States you might call the middle class. What class do you belong to? I am the thinking class. I belong to the thinking class. Why? Because I am made in the image and the likeness of God. The original man, the authentic man, is a reflection of God. Now, to reflect God, we must think and share our thoughts. Woo! Oh my word, that is actually so powerful. To reflect God, we must think and share our thoughts. You know, what is the image of God? What is the likeness of God? What is the reflection of God? It's not in your body, okay? It's not in your body. The image and the likeness of God is visible in the creative appetite and capacity of human beings. And it is our insatiable appetite to create and our limitless capacity to create that fundamentally differentiates us from animal kind. So animals, you know, at a physiological and even biological level, have striking similarities to human beings. But the distinction between humans and animals is our insatiable appetite to create and our limitless capacity to create. It is the use of our imagination, and it is the fountain of our ideas. It is our thought life that differentiates us from animal kind. So no matter how much the monkey looks like a man or the man looks like a monkey has no chance in millions of years of ever making the technology that allows us to share in real time across nations in a class like this. It's man that sits and thinks about these things. It's man that entertains these ideas. It's man that becomes serious about his ideas. And it's man that ultimately acts on his ideas to materialize his own intention. That is the image and the likeness of God. We know this because in Genesis 1, the only thing God reveals to us about himself is his creative capacity, his creative nature, and his creative capacity. In Genesis 1, we don't know that God is love. We don't know that God is merciful. We don't know is holiness. He hasn't revealed to us his other attributes. The one attribute he reveals to us is that he created heaven and earth, that he is the creator, that he is creative. So when Genesis 1 says he made man in his image and likeness, it's saying that the creator made a creator. You are a creator. By nature, you are creative. You have an insatiable appetite and a limitless capacity to create. And this is why reflecting God means thinking and sharing our thoughts. Let me read it to you this way. The original man is the image and likeness of God. God made the universe through his word. Words are thoughts expressed, communicated, or shared through sounds. Okay, so what are words? Words are thoughts, but they are thoughts that are being communicated or shared through sounds. Okay, so this means that if God created his world, if God created the universe by thinking and sharing his thought, then how do we create our worlds as his reflection? We create our worlds by thinking and communicating our ideas. You see, anyone that fails to think or to communicate ideas is going to be subject to their environment and will never be masters over their environment. Like, you know, we are born into a set of circumstances, and those circumstances will either become our master or they'll become our servant. They become the master of people who fail to think or to communicate ideas, but they become servants to people who think and who communicate ideas. All right, I hope that wasn't too deep, because I'm going deep now. Even fallen man can create kingdoms with the power of his imagination. Oh, Lord, help me now. Even fallen man can create kingdoms with the power of imagination. Genesis 11, verses 5 to 6. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one. They have all one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. Which they have imagined to do. See, even when fallen man harnesses the power of imagination and entertains a new idea, the fallen man can create a kingdom, can build a city, can build a tower, can build wealth, can build an environment, a set of circumstances, can build platforms. Fallen man can build cities. And I don't need to spend time proving that. I would just say, open your eyes, look out the window, and you'll see cities built largely by fallen men. Why? Because even the shattered image of God, you know, when Adam fell, the image of God shattered. Even the shattered image of God in a fallen man has the potential to create kingdoms, to build systems, to change an environment, to break through a barrier. So that's the power of ideas. Ideas are so very powerful. And God made you and I to be not a working class, not an animal class, but a thinking class. We are God's kind. Okay? You'll remember in the garden, every living thing had seed in itself capable of reproducing itself, but only after its kind. So that apples will produce apples, and oranges, oranges, right? And cows, cows, and goats, goats. So what God was making in man is the God kind. Original man, authentic man is the God kind, and that puts him in the thinking class. You and I are the God kind, and we belong in the thinking class. Our original job is a thinking job. It's not a manual job. I wish I had some help in here. The authentic man in the paradise of God's original intention and purpose is the God kind in a thinking class who thinks for a living and doesn't manually work for a living. Only after the curse does man manually work for a living. Only after the curse does Adam's job move from his head to his hands. Only in the context of the curse do you sweat for bread. But in the context of the blessing, you think and grow rich. Woo! I wish I had some help in here. In the paradise of God's purpose and original intent, you think your way into riches. Does that mean you don't have to do any work? No. It doesn't mean that, because you have to act on your ideas. But it means that the source of your wealth, the source of your prosperity, the source of your abundance, the source of your enlarged territory, the source is going to be the quality of your ideas. The quality of your ideas. And so let me bring this into a very practical and historic context to say that the Industrial Revolution that took us out of the agricultural age, the Industrial Revolution created a demand for manpower. Okay? So the first stage in the Industrial Revolution saw the advent of factories and steel and railroads, because we'd entered into the age of mass production. And in the age of mass production, what the owners of the means of production needed was manpower. They needed manpower, okay? And so they rewarded manpower. They needed manual labor. They needed hands on deck. They needed muscle. They needed people to lift, to shift, to move, to operate equipment. And so the Industrial Revolution created a demand for manpower, a huge demand for manpower. However, the digital revolution, help me now, the digital revolution has created a demand for mind power. Woo! So that demand has shifted from manpower to mind power. Now, if you're unaware of this, let me explain that many of the manual jobs that were available 20, 30, 40 years ago have been replaced by machines. Machines can do any form of manual labor. Machines now make it possible for one man to do what it took 10 or 20 men to do years ago. Eventually, machines will replace manual labor. And we're seeing that pan out, specifically as we move into the next phase of the Industrial Revolution with the advent of AI, artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, okay? The Internet of Things, whereby everything will be connected to the internet. Cars will all be connected to the internet. Your fridge will be connected to the internet. Every appliance in your home will be connected to the internet so you can operate it from your phone. And in some cases, you can already do that. Hospitals, surgery, everything will be connected to the internet. So if they make something, they're going to make it to be internet compatible, right? So that's where the dawn of that revolution. We're also, about to see the advent of something called 6G. So right now we're using 5G, but 6G is going to make 5G seem like a horse and carriage compared to a high-speed train. And so we're at the dawn of a new face of the industrial revolution, in which machines will pretty much wipe out machines, operated by artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things and various forms of reality, virtual, augmented, all these things. They're going to wipe out a significant portion of manual jobs, okay? Because we've moved from the age of manpower into the age of mind power. But there's a problem. The problem is that imagination and creativity was the very thing that the school system was designed to suppress. Imagination and creativity is the very thing that the school system was designed to suppress. And I'm going to get into that in a moment. It was designed to suppress it because when it was designed to mass produce workers, a slave class, a working class, not a thinking class. It was designed to mass produce manpower, people who were dependent on jobs, people who were job dependent, people who would do as they're told, people who would do without thinking, people who would take a course and then go to work on the production line, just moving items monotonously from this belt to that belt. That when the factory school system was created, it was created to mass produce that kind of a worker, a voluntary slave, an obedient slave, a hard-working slave, and a less thinking slave. This is what the system was designed to generate. Here we are now, in this stage of the Industrial Revolution that requires thinkers, ideas, innovation, creativity, mind power, imagination. It requires all of these things, but these are the very things that the system did not teach us. So if the system didn't teach us that, guess what? We're going to have to teach ourselves. Okay? We're going to have to wake up, smell the coffee, and teach ourselves how to become creative, imaginative, problem solvers, solution centers, innovators, and because this is what the new economy demands, and this is the class into which God created you. Somebody help me preach up in here, even though I'm just teaching right now. I'm getting all excited. We have transitioned within the space of a generation from manpower to mind power. We've transitioned from working with our hands to working with our minds, okay? Working with your head. We now need a thinking class who are rich in ideas, imagination, and creativity. We need a thinking class who are rich in ideas, imagination, and creativity. And if you are part of the thinking class, if you're ready to become part of the thinking class, again, I want you to write in the chat box, I am the thinking class. I am the thinking class. I'm loving your comments, by the way, so just keep them coming. I'm loving your comments. So I want to make a bold statement here. The bold statement is that the oldest and most lucrative business in the world involved the exchange of ideas. It's the oldest business in the world, okay? And the most lucrative business in the world involves the exchange of ideas. Can I prove that? Look, from the caveman documenting history with paintings on cave walls, okay, to the Greek and Roman philosophers, to the Bible itself, 66 books of thought and ideas, The oldest and most lucrative business in the world involved the exchange of ideas. Now, there's a difference between sharing ideas and selling ideas, but I'll talk about that towards the end. Now, let's look at this. Given that ideas are the source and genesis of every meaningful invention, industry, institution, and item, I literally have to go back over that. I mean, every invention started with an idea. Every industry started with an idea. Every institution started with ideas. Every item that you can purchase on Amazon was once an idea in someone's mind. The genesis of invention, industry, institutions, and items, the genesis is ideas. Okay? Now, given that the genesis of all physical things is ideas, and the genesis of social systems is ideas, and the genesis of institutions are ideas, then ideas is a safe trade. Ideas is sustainable, and it's suitable for people who think. Now, let me break this down. Let's go to the right-hand side, okay? Ideas and imagination are the language of the spiritual world. Woo! My word, I need some more. I need that. I need that. And I need that. Ideas and imagination are the language of the spiritual world. Now, I'm going to break this down in some detail. But given that every physical thing came out of the spiritual world, okay, every visible thing came out of the invisible, right, including the universe, right? John 1:1, in the beginning was the Word, the Word was with God, the Word was God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. The physical world was created, came out of the invisible. Hebrews 11, things that are made, things that are seen are not made from things which do appear. So the physical comes out of the spiritual, the visible out of the invisible. So when the spiritual and the invisible are speaking to you, okay, when God is speaking to you, he speaks to you with ideas and imagination. Okay? Now I'm going to prove this, right? Ideas and imagination. Think about this. When God speaks to us, right, the language is called, in the Bible, is dreams and visions, right? This is ideas and imagination. It's the language of the spiritual world. So often we get an idea and don't realize that's God speaking to us, right? We get a thought and don't realize that's angels whispering to us. Some of us are complaining about lack, but we're carrying multi-million-dollar ideas, okay? And here we are asking God for a supply when he's already given you the source. Woo. Here we are asking God for an effect when he's already given you the cause. Here we are asking God for a fruit when he's already given you the root, but he gives it to you in a language, and that language is called ideas and imagination. Number 2, imagination converts raw materials into human utilities or into useful items. So God gives us trees. He doesn't give us chairs and tables. He gives us trees. But imagination and ideas convert trees into chairs and tables. It's ideas and imagination that converts trees into boats, okay, and into tools for farming. It's, see, until the idea, there cannot be an item. Until the idea, we cannot take natural resource and convert it into some human utility. Okay, number 3, ideas break through barriers. Someone said, well, I'm stuck. Bishop, I'm stuck. I'm blocked. I'm stuck in life, my health, my marriage. I'm stuck with my business, my career, my ministry is stuck. Do you know what? You know what breaks through barriers? It's an idea, right? And sometimes what we think we need, okay, is not really what we need. Okay? What we want sometimes is not what we need. What we need is an idea, because an idea, like a laser, will cut through the barrier. A great idea will literally transform your circumstances overnight. A great idea can take you from broke to billions in record-breaking time. A great idea can change your circumstances very quickly. A great idea. So I want an ear to hear what the Spirit is saying. I want an ear to hear an idea that breaks through my barriers, okay? That shatters the glass ceiling. I need an idea that takes me from where I am to where I belong. Okay, ideas are the true source of commonwealth, civilization, and human progress. Okay, so we've made a lot of progress, from savagery to civility. Okay, we made a lot of progress as the human race. We've made a lot of progress. All of that progress was facilitated by ideas which could be communicated. Communicating ideas has changed the world and has meant that you and I live in a world that, yes, it's dangerous, yes, it's perilous, but it's a lot less dangerous than it used to be. And if I had time, I'd deal with that, but I'm not going to deal with that. So I want to show you this. I want to talk about thought equity, universal equity. I want to talk about equal opportunities. That's right, Maria. That's the answer. I need an idea. What I need right now is a great idea, a God idea, because if I get one idea, I can change my whole circumstance with one idea, given that every single thing that we ever invented, any item, any industry, any institution, anything that we have done, all started with a great idea. Now, God has given to every man the power of imagination. God's given to every man the power of imagination. That's what makes us innately human, right? We can imagine, right? And to imagine, you see the word image, right? We can make movies in our mind, right? We can picture things we've never seen with our eyes. We can imagine. We have this power, okay? And God gave it freely to everyone. So watch this. God gives you the power to get wealth through ideas. This is really important, right? So in Deuteronomy 8, God says to Israel, you must remember the Lord your God, because it is he who gives you the power to get wealth. It doesn't say it is he that gives you wealth. It says I am he that gives you power to get wealth. Okay? I'm going to shock some of you right now. God doesn't give you money. God won't give you money, right? And someone says, oh, no, God gave me some money. And that's great. Okay? That's great. I'm not going to deny your experience, but I'm going to tell you that your exceptions do not change the rule. The rule is that what God gives us is the power to get wealth. And the power to get wealth is a wealth-generating idea, or a set of wealth-generating ideas. What God gives you is an idea, okay? If you ask God for wealth, guess what he's going to give you? He's going to give you an idea. Woo! So if you ask God for wealth and then sit down in your chair waiting for the postman to put a check in the door in the mail, you may be waiting a very long time and your life may expire before that happens. If you ask God for wealth and you start looking for someone to give you money, you may be waiting a very long time. Because if you ask God for wealth, typically he's going to give you an idea, a wealth generating idea. And this means that you are one idea away from health, wealth, and happiness. You are one idea away. You are so close to your next breakthrough when you realize that the only thing standing between you and it is that one idea. And so I want you to write in the chat box one idea, okay? Just one idea. Because God will give you the power to get wealth in the form of an idea to generate wealth. Now, I've put it this way in red. And what I've said in red here is so powerful, that's why I put it in red. When you pray for things, God answers by giving you thoughts. Woo! When you pray for things, God answers by giving you thoughts. Why? Because thoughts are a source. Things are the supply. Thoughts are a root. Things are a fruit. Thoughts are a cause. Things are an effect. When you pray for things, God answers by giving you thoughts. When you pray for things, don't be looking for things from God. Look for thoughts from God. You know, there's a passage in Malachi where Malachi challenges the children of Israel to bring all the tithe into the storehouse. And he says prophetically, prove me now herewith, saith the Lord, if I will not pour you out a blessing, that there'll not be room enough to receive it. Wow. So this was the covenant with Israel. And the covenant with Israel said, bring the tithe and I'll pour you out a blessing. Okay, the word blessing is the Hebrew barakah. Barakah is the Hebrew for blessing. And it literally translates a benediction, a benediction. And the word benediction, so the blessing, right, the Hebrew word translated properly is benediction, which is made up of two words, bene, as in good, right? Bene meaning good, as in benefit, bene, good, right? Diction is words, as in dictionary. So what does God pour out? A good word, a benediction, a good word. So God's challenge to Israel was, okay, bring the tithe and I'll pour you out a good word. So that instead of looking for your answer, you must listen for your answer. Woo! Somebody help me scream. Instead of looking for the answers to your prayers, you must start listening for the answers to your prayers, because when you pray for things, God answers by giving you thoughts. And when you get a God thought, you now have the power to get wealth, the power to break through the barrier, the power to change your circumstance, the power of increased health, the power for happiness. The power is available through the thought, the thinking that God has given you in answer to your prayers. So you're now here praying, God, change my circumstance, and God will answer by changing your psychology. Oh, I wish I had some help in here. You want God to change your circumstance, but he's going to change your psyche. You want him to change your things, but he's going to change your thoughts. And so when you pray for things, don't look for the answer, listen for the answer, okay? We watch and pray, not with the natural eye, but with the spiritual eye, because we walk by faith and not by sight. And faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So when you are praying for things to change, for a new beginning, for a career change, for a breakthrough in your marriage, a breakthrough in your health, a breakthrough in your finances, a breakthrough in your ministry, you're praying about these things, the answer is going to come to you in thought form. It's going to come to you as ideas. It's going to come to you as strategy. That's how God answers your prayers. Woo! So now, I want to talk about acting on your ideas. And I'm going to do it by summarizing a story in 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 1 to 7. And it is a story of a widow who was in debt, okay? She was in debt, and the creditors had come to take her 2 sons, okay? Now, she was down to nothing and about to lose the something she thought she had. And she cried to the prophet, to the man of God. And the prophet Elisha said to her, What shall I do for you? What do you have in the house? Now, let me paraphrase that. He was saying, what are you expecting me to do for you? Okay? Are you expecting me to give you the money to pay your debt? Because I'm not going to do that. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you how to transition from extreme poverty to extreme prosperity. I'm going to show you how to go from broke to billions. I'm going to show you how to move your location from down to nothing to up to something. I'm going to give you some new ideas. And so here's effectively what the prophet said. Now you can read this and I'm just paraphrasing. First thing the prophet said is, what do you have in the house? What do you have in the house? In other words, I want you to conduct a personal audit. I want you to look into your life, and I want you to find something that you have, because you are never, ever down to nothing. You always have something. David said, I was young, now I'm old. I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. In other words, the righteous, you always have something. And it's but see, that something doesn't mean anything if you don't recognize it as something. So you got to recognize the little something that you have. It could be a skill that you have. It could be a story that you have. It could be an idea that you have. But you have something. And I'm going to say this to you, and I want you to receive this as a word from God for you. And it is this, that something you already have from God is the key to everything else God has promised you. Something you already have from God right now is the key to everything else that God has promised you. I said that to say this: you've got what it takes, because it's not going to take any more than what you have, right? You got it. You have something. It could be a skill set. It could be an experience, a story. It could be advice, counsel. You have something. Now, so the first key is to recognize your ideas. Second key is to value your ideas. Okay? In other words, stop calling it nothing. Stop calling it nothing. Because if you call your something nothing, you lose the something that you have. But if you call your nothing something, you get much more. Jesus said it this way: to him that has will more be given, but to him that has not will be taken away that which he has. So if he has not, then there's nothing to take away, right? So clearly you had something to have it taken away. It's really that person who said to themselves, I don't have nothing. And Jesus said, if you keep saying that I don't have nothing, you will lose the something that you have. But if you call your nothing something, then it's going to be multiplied. So value your ideas, right? Your ideas are your pot of oil. Recognize your own pot of oil and value your pot of oil. Instead of thinking of it as nothing, think of it as something. Instead of thinking of it as insignificant, think of it as very significant. Think of your pot of oil, your ideas, your learning, your knowledge, your expertise, your skills, your wisdom, right? Think of that as the key to everything else God has promised you. right? Because listen, if they take everything from you, if they take your house, your car, your job, your income, they take everything from you, right? You're still left with your ideas. So that is your pot of oil. Your pot of oil is your experiences, your expertise, your errors, even, right? Because they've taught you some valuable lessons. Your exposure to different environments. All of this is your pot of oil. So now you're going to put it together and say, look, I've got experience here. I've got expertise here. I've made some errors here and I've learned lessons from that. I've been exposed to different environments and they've all taught me life lessons. And I am a walking pot of wisdom. I am a walking pot of wisdom. And they've taken everything, but they can't take my wisdom. So I still have my wisdom. Value your ideas. Next thing the prophet said is go borrow vessels, not a few. Go borrow vessels and begin to pour your content into containers. Pour your content into containers. Package your ideas. Package your ideas. Package your ideas. So you have experience, you have expertise, package that. You've learned from some errors, package that. You have some advice and wisdom, package that. And how do you package ideas, right? You package that idea by writing a book or books, by developing courses, by teaching webinars like I'm doing right now, by coaching programs, by your social media posts, by your podcast, by your YouTube channel. All of this is a way of packaging your ideas or putting your content into containers. Because once it's in containers, it can be marketed and it can be sold. Then you sell your ideas. You sell. The final thing the prophet said was go sell the oil. Go sell the oil. Go sell the oil, right? He didn't say go give away the oil, because I want you to know there's a difference between sharing ideas and selling ideas. If you're going to share ideas, all you need is a platform. But if you're going to sell ideas, you need a process. And so we fail sometimes. Sometimes we got good advice. We got good advice for all kinds of people. We got great advice for single mothers. We got great advice for new mothers. We got great advice for dating couples and for married couples. And we got great health advice for midlife. And we've got great advice for mental health, and we've got spiritual advice, and we got career advice, and we got financial advice, and we've got business advice, and we've got all of this we've got our own pot of oil, but we are failing because we haven't packaged it to sell it, right? We haven't put the content into containers where we can actually sell it. But the prophet said, go sell the oil. Pay your debts and live off the rest. Wow and wow. See, God gives us trees, not chairs. Are you hearing me? God gives us trees, not chairs. God gives us rocks, not rings. Now, what I mean by that is this, that your gold ring was once a rock, right? It was a gold nugget. It was a gold nugget. It was a rock. God doesn't give us rings. He gives us rocks. God gives us thoughts, not things. And with those thoughts, we turn trees into chairs and tables and boats and tools. With thoughts, we turn rocks into rings. With thoughts, we create industries. We create items. And the value is always with the thinker. The thinking, people who think for a living will always be paid more. Let me put it to you this way. If you use an iPhone, then I would ask you, which would you rather own? Would you rather own the iPhone, the item, or would you rather own the idea? Because whereas the item may be worth $1,000, the idea is worth billions and billions of dollars. So I'd rather own an idea than simply an item. And I challenge you to become a thinker, to act on your ideas by packaging stuff and selling it because you value your own ideas. Now, as you know, in my Bible class, I never, this is a fabulous Bible class, and you can go back the whole year. You never see the bishop take up an offering in a Bible class, ever. No offering. We don't do that. But I do ask all of my listeners to allow me to make an offer at the end of my presentation, and all my listeners agree, it's okay, Bishop. Please do make your offer. Tonight, my offer has no charge, totally free. It's next Thursday. Next Thursday, I'm going to teach a special webinar, and the special webinar is on the industry of ideas. The industry of ideas. That will be my special webinar next Thursday. Now, I'm still going to be teaching next Thursday at this time, but the webinar will happen much later. If you're in the UK, it kicks off like 11 o'clock at night. And if you are in the US on the East Coast, it'll be at 6 o'clock in the evening. So I'm going to teach this webinar because I'm going to explain the industry of ideas. And I'm going to show you the difference between sharing ideas and selling ideas. Okay? Because you can share your ideas forever and never, you'll never grow rich and be able to service your children's children the way that you are meant to by simply sharing ideas. There has to come a point at which you package your principles, you put your content into containers, and you begin to sell your best ideas. But you're never going to do that if you don't value those ideas. And if we don't value ideas, it's because we don't realize that ideas are the language of the spiritual world. That when you ask God for things, he will give you thoughts. Okay? He'll give you thoughts. That's how he speaks to you. He'll give you an idea. If you ask him for wealth, he'll give you the power to get wealth through a wealth-generating idea. So we're going to talk about what to do with our ideas and how we can enter the industry of ideas. And I'm going to do that next Wednesday. Now, on my YouTube channel, in the description beneath this video, in the description is the link for you to sign up for that webinar. It's right there in the description. And I'm going to challenge you to sign up for it right now. Thank you. I've seen a lovely comment. Someone says, I purchased a package from Bishop Malcolm. It transformed my business. Thank you, dear brother, for sharing that testimony. Tonight, I'm not selling a package. I want to take those of you that are genuinely interested in the industry of ideas on a special journey in that special webinar. I'll only keep you about an hour, but I might go on because in my webinars, I don't stop till we're done. And I'm gonna break down the industry of ideas and how you can begin to profit from the thing God gave you, the thing no one can take away. They can take away your stuff. They can't take away the ideas that God put in you, right? I'm going to help you to explore them. I'll show you how to qualify them. I'll show you how to clarify them. I'll show you how to package them. I'll show you how to promote them. I'll show you how to price them. I'll show you how to get paid just for what's in your mind. Woo and wow. Is that exciting or is that exciting? If you are excited, I want you to start to tell me about it in the chat box. I also want to say I am doing the Wisdom to Wealth Masterclass in April, and that is the advanced. That's kind of steroids. That's like you can start a business right after that masterclass. So go and check it out. Here is a QR code that you can go to that website, or in the link in my description, you can look up the Wisdom to Wealth Masterclass. It's right there in the description. You can go to the link and read all about it. There's a ticket on that on that training. It's advanced elite training, comes with some bonuses, perks, and benefits. It's elite. So you want to go to that. But listen, if you're on the fence at all, or if there's a set of ideas that you have already recognized within yourself, you need to be at the special webinar, Thursday the 28th, 11 p.m. UK time, and the link is in the description. Woo and wow. I'm going to play some music right now. Do I have a music request? Does anyone want to make a request in terms of the music I normally play? If you make a request, then that's the one I'm going to play. And then I'm just going to look at your comments, throw them on the screen like that one right there from Paul, Karen, bang. I'm gonna throw the stuff, Brian, fire. I'm gonna throw the stuff up on the screen. But you need to make a request. Anyone want to make a music request? And if you don't, okay, thank you. That's Paul. So here goes, Totally Unstoppable, just for Paul.
I know they're talking about you. And I know it's been getting to you. And I know that things are hard and times are tough. But you know what? I got good news for you. You're totally unstoppable. Wide enough to keep me from my dreams. I fully made up my mind to leave the past behind, seek until I find my destiny. Totally unstoppable. Totally unstoppable. Totally unstoppable. Of every obstacle, I'm moving ahead unstoppable, knowing nothing's impossible if only I believe. I'm reaching for the unreachable, feeling for the intangible, looking for the invisible, because I believe. Totally unstoppable. I'm totally unstoppable. Let me tell you now, every obstacle presents an opportunity. Every rock I see a stepping stone. The only limitation is in my imagination. Doesn't matter what they say, I'm gonna do it anyway. There's no triumph without a trial, no gain without the pain, no glory without a story, no might without the fight, no victory without a victim, no message without a mess, no testimony without the testing. So step by step, totally unstoppable, totally unstoppable. Totally unstoppable. I'm a totally